So let me now talk a little bit more about what Anopod is. I hope my analogy of the road made sense. What I'm trying to do here is when a lot of people think of the internet, they think of the websites they go to or the app stores. They think of maybe their internet company that they pay to use. We tend to not view the internet itself as a commodity, as a thing of value. The actual web itself, what is it? And I'm trying to paint a picture of that itself is valuable the same as a road is. Now, as I gave the example of how one of the biggest problems today is that all roads lead to these big tech companies, Anopod seeks to destroy that road and replace it with a much better road. So let's picture, there's a lot of people in the world, so I'm not going to be able to draw 8 billion circles, but picture that each of these circles is a person. Now, what Anopod does, instead of building these giant roads that all lead to the giant tech companies, Anopod is a series of roads that's connecting all of these people. So each person is connecting to another person in a very large web-like series of roads. Now, there's a name for this. There's a word for this. This is called a peer-to-peer network. Or we could call it a people-to-people or a person-to-person network. So each person is the network, and they're connecting to other people. Now, one thing you might notice here about these roads, none of these roads are leading to a central spot, a central location. You don't have a major road going to Amazon, to Google, to Microsoft, to Netflix, etc. Instead, it's an internet made up of peer-to-peer connections. What does that mean? That means this is an internet of the people, for the people, by the people. In the future with Anopod, there will be no Facebook. There will be no Twitter or X or Google or Amazon. There will be no what they would call a central, or what we call a central server, or centralized, right? What I described in the last road is called a centralized internet. What Anopod is a decentralized internet. That means no one owns it. It's an open, free-to-use road that everyone can use in any way they want. And it's controlled by no one. What does this mean for the future users of Anopod? Well, one thing it means is money. Look at YouTube for an example. How much money is YouTube worth? How many billions upon billions of dollars does YouTube make every year? Yet, what gives YouTube its value? It's us. It's the user. We create the content. We teach people how to change their oil. We teach people languages. All the stuff that you find on YouTube was made by us. And we put it up on a centralized YouTube server. It's centralized because Google owns it. So all those videos that we get to put up there, Google owns them all. And yes, there's a few people that they throw some crumbs to and get a little money. But most people that made YouTube worth so many billions get absolutely nothing for it. So one of the greatest benefits of a decentralized network like Anopod is when you upload videos to your pod, like let's say this is you right here. This is your pod. This is you on the internet. So if you upload videos, you don't upload them to YouTube. You upload them to yourself, which we could basically describe as a small server inside a bigger server, which is basically just a computer. Some peer-to-peer networks, people have had this idea for a while. It's called a P2P network, decentralized network. They don't work because they assume that people are either going to use their own computer or their own phone to make the network, and that will never happen. Or they assume that people are going to pay $5, $10, $20 a month to host their pod. Anopod solves all of that. The pods cost $0 to use. So that means a person can upload their videos, their photos, their pictures, their comments, their posts, their likes. If you make a friend, if you have 500 friends on Facebook, well, what happens if Facebook shuts down? What happens if you don't want to use Facebook anymore? What happens if someone made a better version of Facebook and you'd rather use that, but you're not going to use that? No one's going to use that because all your friends, your comments, your posts, your shares, etc., are all currently owned by Facebook. Facebook makes billions of dollars, believe it or not, by people viewing the content that you and I make on our pages. Obviously, we get nothing for that. Not only that, but now you're stuck with Facebook. In the Anopod decentralized peer-to-peer network, everything you do, you own, you have control of. Imagine if you make your own little version of Facebook or you find one you like better, you can simply take all of your stuff, all of your content over there. Or you might have one friend that uses Facebook over here, and this guy uses something called Blue Book, and this guy uses something called Red Book, and this guy uses something called Green Book. That's fine. You can all use different social medias. Because when that website brings in your post or your videos, your likes, or communication between them, they all get it from your pod. So your pod holds all of your stuff. It holds you. I'll go more into that later. I know I'm trying to give a broad overview here, but it's hard not to jump in and out of specifics. The main thing I want you to understand in this video is we're getting rid of the big roads that lead to the tech companies, and we're creating a web of roads that connect people to people. And one of the big motives to this for you as a person, not someone who helped build Anopod, not what I'll explain to you what a master pod is or a miner, not someone who got in early, just someone who's simply using the Anopod network because they want to. One of the huge advantages to them is money. You own the video. If you want to monetize the video, that's up to you. If you make posts every day and thousands of people like to read them, you can choose whether or not you'd like to monetize that, rather than Facebook monetizing it and getting all the money for it. What I might talk about in the next video is censorship. If you don't like the policies of a website you're using, you can simply move. You can bring all your friends with you. There's no reason that this friend can be on Red Book and this one on Green Book, and this friend makes a post on Green Book, And this friend over here on Redbook can read it, like it, comment to it, share it on Redbook. Just think of it from the idea of a small business who creates a Facebook page and gets 100,000 followers. You might feel like you have 100,000 followers, but if you make a post, probably only 800 or a couple thousand people are going to see it. That's because they're not really your followers. It's not really your post. It's all owned by Facebook. Facebook doesn't want you to make a post and have 100,000 people see it, even if it knows that they want to see it. It's not in Facebook's interest because they want the business owner to pay thousands upon thousands of dollars every year in order to reach those people. See, this comes back to money again. But a business owner would do so much better utilizing the Anopod network, creating a pod for their business, and then all those followers they have, they are owned by the owner of this pod. See, this is a free, open, decentralized internet that no one central person controls it. And thank you for your time. In the next video, let me dig into a few more details while trying to keep this as broad and high level view as possible.